Strap in, I am 10, and here we go.
Commander Vexlar of the Korvathi Imperial Armada had seen many things in his 40 cycles of military service, but nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for this level of absurdity. "Run that past me again," he said, his 3 eye stalks swiveling independently to focus on the sensor officer. Slowly this time, Lieutenant Koramix gulped, her mandibles clicking nervously. "Sir, we have visual confirmation. The humans have responded to our invasion fleet with a single vessel." Vexlar's primary eye twitched. Around him the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Fang had gone silent. 217 warships, the pride of the Korvathi Empire, the most formidable battle group ever assembled in this sector of the galaxy, and the humans had sent what? 1 ship. "Is it a superweapon?" asked Captain Mortos from Tactical, his voice dripping with hope. "Please tell me it is a superweapon. That would at least make sense." Koramix studied her console, her bioluminescent skin flickering through several shades of confused purple. "According to our scans, sir, it is a frigate-class vessel. Designation, the Audacity. Mass approximately 9,000 tons. Armament conventional kinetic railguns, standard missile arrays, point defense systems." There was a long, uncomfortable pause. "You are telling me," Vexlar said slowly, his voice deadly calm, "that we have brought 217 warships including 4 dreadnoughts, 18 battlecruisers, 40 destroyers, and enough firepower to crack a moon in half, and the humans have countered with a ship that, according to these readings, could not defeat a decent asteroid mining operation?" "Yes, sir." "And they named it the Audacity?" "Yes, sir." Absalor felt a headache forming behind his secondary eye. The irony was not lost on him. In fact, the irony had found him, mugged him, and was now dancing on his corpse while laughing hysterically. He had studied human military history, of course. Everyone in the galactic community had, after humanity had emerged from their little blue planet and promptly started causing diplomatic incidents left and right. The humans were known for being unpredictable, creative, and disturbingly good at turning anything into a weapon. But this was either genius or suicide, and Vexlar could not tell which. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered, deciding that talking might provide answers, or at least entertainment before the inevitable. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of what appeared to be a ship's bridge designed by someone who thought ergonomics were a type of breakfast food. Standing in the center, arms crossed, was a human female with short red hair and a smile that made Vexlar's survival instinct scream warnings. "Greetings," she said, her tone cheerful in a way that somehow felt threatening. "I am Captain Lena Cross of the Earth Alliance ship Audacity. Thanks for waiting. Traffic was murder getting here." Vexlar blinked all 3 eyes in sequence, a Korvathi gesture of profound confusion. You are welcome, I think?" "Captain Cross, I am Commander Vexlar of the Korvathi Imperial Armada. Perhaps you are not aware of the situation?" "Oh, I am very aware," Cross replied, examining her fingernails with theatrical disinterest. "You guys declared war on the Terran Alliance last week, something about us disrespecting the ancient protocols because we did not bow deeply enough during the trade negotiations. Our diplomats tried to explain that humans do not have 4 knees and therefore cannot perform your traditional greeting, but hey, cultural misunderstandings happen." "The insult was grave," Vexlar said stiffly, though he privately agreed the war declaration might have been a slight overreaction. The High Council had been looking for an excuse to expand territory, and humans, being relatively new to galactic politics, seemed like easy targets. Sure, Cross waved a hand dismissively. "So anyway, you brought your entire fleet to teach us a lesson. That is adorable. How long did it take to get everyone coordinated? Did you have to do a group chat? I bet the logistics were a nightmare." Several bridge officers on the Eternal Fang made strangled sounds. Vexlar felt his patience, already thin, beginning to evaporate entirely. "Captain Cross, I do not think you comprehend your situation. You are facing the full might of the Korvathi Empire. Surrender now, and perhaps Earth will be granted a merciful occupation. Refuse, and we will be forced to demonstrate exactly why the galaxy fears our military prowess." Cross tilted her head, her smile widening. "Demonstrate? Commander, you could not demonstrate your way out of a paper bag if it had instructions printed on the inside. But please, go ahead, fire away. We will wait." The bridge erupted in outraged chittering. How dare this human show such disrespect, such arrogance? Mortas was already calculating firing solutions, his claws dancing across the weapons console with eager anticipation. Vexlar raised a limb for silence. Something felt wrong about this entire situation. Humans were bold, yes, but not suicidal. At least, not usually. Not without a very good reason. "You understand we will destroy your ship?" he asked carefully. "You can try," Cross replied, leaning back in her command chair with infuriating casualness. "Tell you what, I will make this interesting. I will just sit here, not even raise shields, and let you take your best shot. Free target practice. Come on, Commander. Show me what the great Korvathi Armada can do." This had to be a trap. Every tactical instinct Vexlar had developed over 4 decades of warfare was screaming that this was a trap. But what kind of trap? He scanned the surrounding space. No hidden human fleet. No anomalous energy signatures. Just empty void and one impossibly small, impossibly arrogant human frigate. "Tactical, prepare firing solution on the human vessel," he ordered, deciding to call what he assumed was a bluff. "All forward batteries, low power. Let us test this human bravado." Mortes grinned, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Target locked, Commander. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The Eternal Fang shuddered slightly as its massive plasma batteries discharged, sending brilliant blue bolts of superheated energy screaming across the void toward the Audacity. Enough firepower to vaporize a small station. The bridge crew watched with satisfaction. The plasma bolts struck the human ship dead center and vanished. But not deflected, not absorbed by shields. Just gone. Disappeared. Ceased to exist. As if the laws of physics had looked at those plasma bolts and said, "Not today, thanks." Silence. Complete, total, overwhelming silence on the bridge of the Eternal Fang. Said Koronix, her voice very small. "Sir, the weapons fired I saw," Vexlar interrupted, his voice hollow. Everyone saw. On the view screen, Captain Cross was laughing. Actually laughing. Head thrown back, hand on her stomach, the kind of genuine belly laugh that made Vexlar want to either shoot something or join in. He was not sure which impulse was stronger. Oh man," Cross gasped between laughs. "Your faces. I wish I had recorded that. The look on your primary eye, Commander, priceless, absolutely priceless." "What?" Vexlar said slowly. "What did you just do?" Cross wiped tears from her eyes, still grinning. Where are my manners? I should explain. See, about 6 months ago, our science division was working on a fascinating little problem. Turns out, with the right quantum field manipulation and a truly stupid amount of processing power, you can create a localized pocket of space-time where conventional energy weapons just, well, do not work at all. They sort of slip into a probability null state and stop existing. "That is impossible," breathed Mortas from Tactical. "Yeah, that is what our physicists said too," Cross agreed cheerfully. "Right up until it worked. We call it a nullification field. Catchy, right? Took us 3 months to miniaturize it enough to fit on a frigate. The Audacity here is the first ship equipped with the prototype." Vexlar felt something cold settling in his stomach. "And kinetic weapons." "Oh, those work fine," Cross said. "We cannot stop everything. But here is the thing about kinetic weapons, Commander. They are slow, relatively speaking, and the Audacity has really good point defense systems." "This is a trick," Vexlar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Some kind of deception. Feel free to test it," Cross invited, spreading her hands. "Seriously. Use whatever you want. I will even keep not using shields. This is fun. It is like a very one-sided carnival game." Vexlar looked at Mortis, who looked back with all the enthusiasm of someone being asked to volunteer for a suicide mission. Around the bridge, officers shifted uncomfortably. Outside, through the vast viewing ports, 216 other Korvathi warships waited for orders. "Full barrage," Vexlar ordered quietly. "All ships, everything we have. Maybe, just maybe, overwhelming firepower would make a difference." It was a slim hope, but at this point slim was better than nothing. The Korvathi fleet opened fire. It was beautiful, in a terrifying sort of way. Hundreds of plasma batteries, missile tubes, particle beams, and exotic energy weapons all firing simultaneously, turning the void into a light show that would have been visible from several star systems away. Enough destructive power to reduce a small planet to its component atoms. All of it hit the Audacity. All of it vanished. The human frigate sat there, completely undamaged, not even a scorch mark on its hull. Captain Cross was now eating what appeared to be some kind of sandwich, occasionally glancing at her view screen with the interest one might show a mildly entertaining commercial break. "This is not happening," someone whispered on the bridge. "Shields holding at." Koramix checked her console, blinked, checked again. They are not even running shields, sir. The field is doing all the work. Power consumption on their vessel is barely above standby levels. Vexlar sat down heavily in his command chair, a privilege he rarely used. His legs suddenly did not feel entirely reliable. On the screen, Cross finished her sandwich, dusted crumbs from her uniform, and gave them a sunny smile. Okay, my turn. Your turn. Vexlar repeated dumbly. Well, yeah, Cross said reasonably. We just sat through your presentation. Very impressive light show, by the way. 10 out of 10 for effort. But now it is only fair that we get to show you what the Audacity can actually do. You know, the stuff we brought along that is not the nullification field. Mortaz was frantically working his console. Commander, I recommend immediate tactical withdrawal. We need to regroup, analyze this technology, develop countermeasures. Countermeasures? Cross had apparently enhanced audio pickup too. Of course she did. Sweetie, you cannot develop countermeasures to physics breaking in ways that should not be possible. Trust me, we tried. Took our best minds 8 months just to make the field stable, and even they are not entirely sure why it works. Something about quantum foam and parallel probability cascades. It was a very boring presentation. You cannot just violate the fundamental laws of the universe. Vexlar protested, knowing even as he said it how ridiculous it sounded. Cross shrugged. Laws, guidelines, they are really more like suggestions when you think about it. Anyway, about that demonstration, what are you going to do? Vexlar asked, discovering he very much did not want to know the answer. Nothing permanent, Cross assured him. See, Earth Alliance regulations are very strict about rules of engagement. We cannot just blow up your fleet even though legally you did fire first. That would be rude. But we can certainly, let us say, encourage you to reconsider your life choices. She pressed a button on her console. The Audacity fired a single missile, one missile, from a frigate, toward a fleet of 217 warships. Vexlar found himself thinking that maybe, just maybe, he should have chosen a different career. Accounting, perhaps. His clutchmate had been right. Military service was overrated. The missile did not explode. Instead, it stopped roughly equidistant from all the Korvathi ships and simply opened up, like a flower blooming, except flowers generally did not contain several thousand microdrones that immediately dispersed throughout the fleet formation. Attention Korvathi Armada, Cross announced, her voice now coming through every ship's communication system simultaneously. The drones now distributed throughout your fleet are equipped with precision plasma torches. They are currently attached to specific points on each of your vessels. Those points are, in order, main power conduits, shield generators, weapons control nodes, and life support backups. On the Eternal Fang's sensor display, Vexlar watched in horrified fascination as the tactical overlay showed exactly what Cross described. Hundreds of tiny drones, perfectly positioned on every single ship. How? He whispered. How did you calculate positions for all of them in the time it took that missile to deploy? Oh, we did not, Cross said brightly. The drones have onboard AI that handles targeting. Neat, right? Anyway, here is the deal. You have 2 options. Option 1, you turn your fleet around, go home, and we all pretend this embarrassing incident never happened. You tell your High Council that humans are significantly more trouble than they are worth, maybe send a nice fruit basket as an apology, and we call it even. And option 2? Vexlar asked, though he suspected he knew. Option 2, these drones simultaneously disable every critical system on every ship in your fleet. You will not die, life support primaries will keep running, but you will be dead in space. Then we call in our actual military, who will be very annoyed at having to come out here, and they will tow all 217 of your ships back to Earth, where they will be impounded as war reparations. Your crews will be treated in accordance with interstellar law, fed, housed, and eventually returned home after a lengthy and humiliating diplomatic process. Your military careers will be over. There will be paperwork. So much paperwork. Forms you cannot even imagine. The threat of paperwork actually made several bridge officers visibly wilt. Bureaucracy was a universal horror, apparently. This is extortion, Vexlar said weakly. This is diplomacy, Cross corrected. Extortion would be if we demanded something in exchange. We are not. We are just strongly suggesting that you take your fleet and go home. Think of it as friendly advice from one military professional to another. The Lari looked around his bridge. Officers who had been confident and eager minutes ago now looked uncertain, afraid. Outside, the greatest fleet the Korvathi Empire had ever assembled sat helpless, completely outmaneuvered by a single human frigate. A frigate named the Audacity. The universe, Vexlar decided, had a truly cruel sense of humor. If I may ask, he said carefully, why did Earth only send one ship? If you have this technology, this capability, surely a larger show of force would have been more conventional. Captain Cross smiled, and for the first time, Vexlar saw something sharp behind those human eyes. Something that reminded him that humans, for all their apparent chaos and humor, were predators from a death world who had clawed their way to the stars through sheer stubborn refusal to accept limitations. Commander, she said softly, we sent one ship because we only needed one ship, because we wanted you to understand something fundamental about humanity. We do not win through overwhelming force. We win through being so unbelievably, impossibly creative that our enemies cannot predict what we will do next. We win because when the universe tells us something is impossible, we take it as a personal challenge. We sent the Audacity because the sheer nerve of it would make a better story. And humans, we really, really love a good story. She leaned forward, her expression intense. Go home, Commander. Tell your High Council that Earth is not worth the trouble. Tell them that humans are crazy, dangerous, and entirely too clever for our own good. Tell them that we will absolutely befriend their children, teach them our music and corrupt their youth with our terrible sense of humor and complete disregard for proper military protocol. Tell them that any species smart enough to build a star empire should be smart enough to pick their battles. Vexlar felt himself nodding before his conscious mind caught up with the gesture. And Commander, Cross added, for what it is worth, I think you are a decent officer. You tried to be honorable, you gave us a chance to surrender. That counts for something. So here is a freebie. Your High Council knew this would not work. They sent you anyway, hoping you would at least bloody our nose enough to justify their political maneuvering. You were sent here to fail. Think about that. The communication cut off, leaving Vexlar staring at a blank screen. Around him the bridge was silent, waiting. He thought about his 40 cycles of service, about the warriors he had commanded, the battles he had won, about his family back home, his clutch mate, his offspring who thought their sire was a hero. He thought about dying in space for a political stunt. He thought about paperwork, navigation. He said quietly, plot a course back to Corvathi Prime. All ships will follow. We are going home, sir. Koramix sounded shocked. We are retreating? We are conducting a strategic withdrawal in the face of overwhelming technological superiority. Vexlar corrected. There is a difference, mostly semantic, but it sounds better in the reports. He stood, straightening his uniform with as much dignity as he could muster, and someone, he added, draft a formal apology to the Earth Alliance, make it good, use the expensive letterhead, and find out what a fruit basket is. 3 days after what would become known in Corvathi military history as the humiliation, Commander Vexlar found himself in a situation he had never anticipated. Sitting in a conference room aboard the Audacity, drinking something humans called coffee, and trying not to have an existential crisis. More sugar, Captain Cross offered, sliding a small container across the table. I still do not understand why you invited me here, Vexlar said, stirring the dark liquid with a utensil that seemed deliberately designed to be inefficient. Humans had spoons that actually worked. He had seen them. This tiny stick situation was a choice. Call it a professional courtesy, Cross replied, leaning back in her chair. You could have done the stupid thing and kept fighting. You did not. That shows intelligence. Also, I figured you might have questions, and honestly, the diplomatic corps would take 6 months to schedule a proper meeting, fill out all the forms, argue about room temperature preferences. This is faster. Vexlar had to admit she had a point. The official channels were already clogged with enough paperwork to deforest a small moon. If paperwork required actual forests, which thankfully it did not, so, he said carefully. The nullification field. How much of the galaxy knows about this technology? As of right now, just you folks and us, Cross said. And I would really appreciate it if we could keep it that way for a while. The thing is, Commander, that field, it is stupidly expensive to maintain. The power requirements are insane. The Audacity has a prototype reactor that is probably going to need a complete overhaul after another week of operation. We can run the field for maybe 72 hours before we have to shut down and let the whole system cool off. Vexlar blinked all 3 eyes in rapid succession. You were bluffing, only partially. Cross grinned. The field works exactly as advertised. But we cannot keep it up indefinitely. If you had decided to just sit there and wait us out, that would have been awkward. We would have had to call for backup, actual backup, and then there would have been a real fight. Much messier. Nobody wants that. You took an enormous risk, Vexlar said slowly. Welcome to human military strategy. Cross raised her coffee cup in a mock toast. We call it aggressive optimism. Sometimes we call it other things. Usually right before someone gets court-martialed. But aggressive optimism sounds better in the mission reports. Despite everything, Vexlari found himself making the chittering sound that passed for Korvathi laughter. This human was either brilliantly insane or insanely brilliant, and he could not quite determine which. Your superiors approved this plan, he asked. Cross made a face. Approved is a strong word. Let us say they did not specifically forbid it. Mostly because I did not tell them exactly what I was planning until after it worked. Admiral Torres is probably still deciding whether to give me a medal or a dishonorable discharge. Maybe both. Humans are big on mixed signals. The door to the conference room slid open, and a tall human male entered carrying a datapad. He had dark skin, tired eyes, and the expression of someone who had long ago given up trying to make sense of the universe and was just along for the ride. Captain, we have got incoming, he said. Multiple signatures, big ones. Cross frowned. The Korvathi fleet is supposed to be 3 days away by now. Not Korvathi, the man replied. Tarelian. Looks like a battle group. 40, maybe 50 ships. They just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. Vexler felt his stomach drop. The Tarelians, of course. The opportunistic scavengers of the galaxy, always showing up wherever they smelled weakness or profit. They must have been monitoring Korvathi fleet movements, he said grimly, probably assumed we were invading this system for resources. Now that we have left, they think they can swoop in and claim whatever we were after. Joke's on them, Cross muttered. This system is empty except for one very annoyed frigate. Jenkins, put them on screen. The view screen flickered to life, showing a Tarelian command deck. The Tarelians looked like someone had taken an octopus, given it anger management issues, and then made it really into military conquest. Their captain, a particularly large specimen with scarred tentacles and way too many eyes, glared at them with open hostility. Attention, human vessel. The Tarelian captain gurgled through his translation implant. I am war leader Krell of the Tarelian sovereignty. You will surrender immediately, and prepare to be boarded. Your ship and any territorial claims in this system now belong to us. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Cross looked at Vexlar. Vexlar looked at Cross. Does this happen to you a lot? Vexlar asked. You would be surprised, Cross sighed. Apparently everyone in the galaxy thinks humans are easy targets. It is starting to get insulting. She tapped her comm badge. Engineering. How are we looking on the field generator? A voice crackled back, female, with an accent Vexlar did not recognize. Captain, we are at 60% capacity. I can give you maybe 12 hours of field operation, but then we are done. That prototype reactor is already making sounds that reactors should not make. 12 hours, Cross repeated thoughtfully. Okay, that could work. You cannot possibly be thinking of using the same strategy twice. Vexlar said, they have 40 ships, 52 according to sensors. Jenkins corrected helpfully. They just brought in reinforcements. Even better, Cross said, her eyes gleaming with that particular light that Vexlar was learning meant she had a terrible idea and was absolutely going to implement it. War Leader Krell, I appreciate the offer, but I am going to have to decline. How about you turn around and go home before this gets embarrassing for everyone involved? Krell's tentacles writhed in what was probably the Tarelian equivalent of laughter. You dare mock me? With one pathetic ship, the Korvathi fled because they were cowards. We are not so easily frightened. Open fire. The Tarelian fleet unleashed its weapons. Different technology than the Korvathi, more focused on kinetic bombardment and what sensors identified as some kind of exotic matter missiles. Still lethal, still more than enough to reduce the audacity to component atoms. All of it vanished into the nullification field. Krell stopped laughing. His tentacles went very still. Okay, Cross said conversationally. So here is the thing, War Leader. You just attacked a vessel of the Earth Alliance. That is technically an act of war. Now normally this is where I would do the whole song and dance about giving you a chance to surrender, explaining our superior technology, making witty remarks at your expense. But honestly, I am tired. I have been dealing with would-be invaders for 3 days straight. I have not slept in 36 hours, and I am out of coffee. So instead, I am going to try something new. She pressed a button on her console. War Leader Krell, allow me to introduce you to Admiral Patricia Torres of the Earth Alliance 3rd Fleet. Admiral, you are on speaker. A new voice came through, older, female, with the kind of authority that made even Vexlar sit up straighter. Captain Cross, please tell me you did not start another interstellar incident. In my defense, Admiral, they started it. I have witnesses. Cross gestured at Vexlar, who suddenly wanted to be anywhere else. Commander Villari is not a credible witness to your behavior, Captain. He is probably experiencing Stockholm Syndrome by now. There was a pause. Wait, is that Tyrellian signature I am reading on long-range sensors? 52 ships, ma'am. They made some territorial demands, fired on us, standard invasion protocol. Of course they did. Admiral Torres sounded deeply tired. War Leader Krell, this is Admiral Patricia Torres. Let me explain your situation in very simple terms. That frigate you just attacked, it is a test bed for experimental technology that makes conventional weapons useless. The captain of that frigate is both brilliant and completely unhinged, which makes her extremely dangerous. And as of 2 minutes ago, the Earth Alliance Third Fleet, all 93 ships, just entered the system at FTL coordinates Lima 7. Vexlar watched Krell's skin color shift through several shades of pale green. That is impossible, Krell sputtered. We would have detected your approach. You would think that, Torres agreed. But see, we developed this new FTL suppression field that masks fleet signatures until we are basically on top of you. Learned it from the Vrin Collective after that mess near Proxima. Turns out, when you explain to people that humans can and will steal your technology and make it better, they get very cooperative. Funny how that works. On the tactical display, Vexlar watched as 93 human warships materialized from apparently empty space, completely surrounding the Tyrellian force. Not frigates, actual warships, cruisers, destroyers, and what looked like 3 very serious battleships. Now, Torres continued, you have 3 options, War Leader. Option 1, you surrender immediately. We impound your ships, process your crews through standard POW protocols, and in 6 to 8 months, assuming good behavior and a lot of paperwork, you get to go home. Option 2, you run. We let you go. You tell everyone you meet that messing with Earth is a bad life choice, and we all move on with our lives. Option 3, you fight. We disable your fleet, and then we proceed with option 1, except now everyone is injured and cranky and the paperwork takes twice as long. The Tyrellian fleet sat very, very still. I am curious, Torres added. What exactly did you think was going to happen here? Did you honestly believe we would park our newest prototype in the middle of nowhere without backup? That we would just let random species wander in and take potshots? We thought. Krell stammered. Intelligence suggested the system was undefended. The Korvathi withdrawal indicated no significant military presence. The Korvathi withdrawal indicated that Commander Villari is smart enough to recognize when he is outmatched, Torres said. You should consider following his example. Commander, you still there? Vexlar jumped slightly. Yes, Admiral, I am. I am currently aboard the Audacity, as Captain Cross's guest.
How is the coffee?
Terrible, ma'am. But the company is educational. Torres actually laughed at that. I like you, Commander. Cross makes sure he gets some decent refreshments. War Leader Krell, I am waiting for an answer. And just so we are clear, my weapons officers are very eager to test our new targeting systems. You have 30 seconds to decide. Vexlar watched Krell's tentacles coil and uncoil in agitation. The war leader was clearly doing the math, weighing his odds, trying to find some strategic advantage that did not exist. We will withdraw, Krell finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. No hostile action. We will leave immediately. Smart choice, Torres said. And war leader, spread the word. Earth is not a target. We are not easy prey. We are the species that looked at faster-than-light travel and said, sure, why not? Let us figure that out. We are the species that saw quantum mechanics and thought, this would make an excellent weapon. We are polite, we are friendly, we are happy to trade and negotiate, but we are also very, very tired of people assuming we are pushovers just because we are new to the galactic community. The Tyrellian fleet began powering up their FTL drives, moving with the urgency of people who had suddenly remembered very important appointments elsewhere. Oh, and one more thing, Torres added, almost as an afterthought. Tell the Vreen, the Korvathi, the Zelthians, and anyone else who is thinking about testing us, humanity did not claw its way to the top of the food chain on a death world by being nice. We are nice because we choose to be. Do not make us choose differently. The Tyrellian ships vanished into FTL, moving so fast they probably left scorch marks on local space-time. Silence fell over the Audacity's conference room. Okay, Cross said eventually. That was intense. Jenkins, please tell me someone recorded that. I want to use it as a training video. Already saved, Captain. Jenkins confirmed. Also, engineering reports that the reactor is officially making noises that sound like crying. Chief Martinez says, and I quote, "If you turn that field on one more time, she is going to mutiny and take the entire engineering department with her." Fair enough. Cross nodded. We will give it a rest. Commander Vigzeller, I believe we were in the middle of a productive conversation before we were so rudely interrupted. Vexlar stared at her. How are you so calm? You just bluffed your way through 2 separate confrontations with overwhelming military forces. 3. If you count that thing with the pirates last month, Cross corrected. But who is keeping track? Look, Commander, here is the secret to human military strategy. We are scared all the time. Absolutely terrified. Our entire species has anxiety disorders, but we learned a long time ago that being scared and being effective are not mutually exclusive. So we feel the fear, acknowledge it, and then do the thing anyway while making sarcastic comments to cope with the stress. That sounds exhausting, Vexlar said. It really is, Cross agreed. But it works, and at the end of the day, that is what matters. Vexlar's communicator chirped. He glanced at it, then sighed. The High Council is demanding a full report. They want to know everything about human capabilities, technology, strategic weaknesses. Are you going to tell them? Cross asked, genuinely curious. Vexlar thought about it. He thought about his conversation with Cross, about Admiral Torres's speech, about the sheer audacity of sending one ship to face an entire fleet and somehow making it work. I am going to tell them, he said slowly, that humanity is not an enemy worth making, that any species clever enough to break physics as a casual weekend project is probably best approached as a potential ally rather than a conquest target, and that our intelligence division needs a complete overhaul, because clearly we have been getting terrible information. Will they listen? Cross asked. Some will. The smart ones. Vexlar stood, straightening his uniform. The stupid ones will probably try again in a few years, and then they will learn the same lesson I did, except with less coffee and more humiliation. You are welcome back any time, Cross said, extending her hand in the human gesture of friendship. Seriously, you are one of the few alien commanders I have met who has actual common sense. That is rarer than you would think. Vexlar clasped her hand carefully, mindful of his claws. If you are ever near Corvathi space, look me up, I will buy you a drink. Something stronger than coffee. I will hold you to that. As Vexlar prepared to transport back to his ship, Jenkins leaned over to Cross and whispered, Captain, you know the Admiral is going to want a full report on why you invited an enemy commander aboard for coffee, right? Yep, Cross said cheerfully, and it is going to be the most boring report I have ever written. 500 pages, single-spaced, excessive footnotes, references to obscure diplomatic protocols. By page 50 she will give up and just mark it approved without reading the rest. That is evil. That is paperwork judo, Cross corrected. Use the bureaucracy's momentum against itself. I learned that from my dad. He worked in government procurement. That man could weaponize a requisition form. 3 weeks later, Commander Villara stood before the Corvathi High Council, delivering his report. The chamber was silent as he detailed the encounter, the technology, the outcome, and you believe, High Chancellor Morakesh said slowly, that we should pursue diplomatic relations with Earth rather than military conquest. I believe, Vexlar said carefully, that humanity represents either our greatest potential ally or our most dangerous potential enemy, the choice of which they become is entirely up to us. They have demonstrated both the capability and the willingness to defend themselves. They have also demonstrated mercy, humor, and a surprising degree of professional courtesy. I would rather have them as friends. They humiliated our entire fleet, one of the council members hissed. They could have destroyed our entire fleet, Vexlar countered. There is a difference. They chose the path that let everyone go home alive. That speaks to restraint and strategic thinking. These are not qualities of a weak species. These are qualities of a species that will still be here long after more aggressive civilizations have burned themselves out. The debate raged for hours. In the end, the vote was close, but the Council agreed to pursue formal diplomatic channels with Earth. No more military action. No more tests of strength. Vexlar considered it a victory. 6 months after that, the Earth Alliance and the Corvathi Empire signed a mutual defense and trade agreement. The negotiations were surprisingly smooth, mostly because Captain Lena Cross was appointed as Earth's military liaison and she had a talent for cutting through diplomatic nonsense with the precision of a plasma torch. The Audacity became something of a legend in galactic military circles. The ship that faced down an empire with nothing but experimental technology and sheer nerve. Other species studied the encounter, analyzed it, tried to develop countermeasures to the nullification field. None of them succeeded. Mostly because, as human scientists cheerfully admitted, they still were not entirely sure why the field worked in the first place. Something about quantum probability and really expensive equipment. The scientific papers were deliberately vague. As for Vexlar, he eventually retired from military service and took a position as a consultant for the Corvathi Diplomatic Corps, specializing in human relations. It was quieter work, less stressful, and it came with significantly better coffee. He never did figure out how Captain Cross managed to stay so calm under pressure, but he suspected it had something to do with the human philosophy he had heard her mention once. If you are going through hell, keep going and maybe make a few jokes along the way. It confuses the demons. Humans, Vexlar decided, were absolutely insane, but in the best possible way. And in a galaxy full of species trying to prove their strength through conquest and domination, maybe a little insanity was exactly what the universe needed. The kind of insanity that sent one ship to face a fleet. The kind of insanity that made friends out of enemies. The kind of insanity that looked at impossible odds and said, "Hold my coffee. This is going to be fun." The galaxy would never be quite the same, and honestly, that was probably for the best. The end.
So, the galaxy learned a hard lesson that day. Never underestimate humanity. We do not conquer with numbers, we win with audacity, creativity, and sheer mouth. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic HFY content. And remember, humans always find a way. Stay curious, stay bold.